Welcome, everybody, to Write Better Together. I'm John Myers. Hey, look, everybody, it's Emily Brooks.
Hello, John Myers.
I didn't wave my arms all around. I was going to do that. That was going to be my new thing, and I forgot to do that. What are we talking about today, Emily?
Well, we have quite the list.
And yay.
Quite the guest.
Oh.
And today's guest is returning for the second time?
Third time.
I was going to say, I think it's the third time.
Yeah.
Bob Sáenz.
Oh, my goodness. Our first third timer.
Yeah, because we like Bob. And we're going to be talking about WriterCon and just how wonderful conferences are. And we're going to talk about what do you do when you're done with your screenplay?
Yep, all the things. The thing I like best about Bob is he loves to play games. Like, he loves the games on the show. It's his favorite part of the show.
So speaking of the other things that we're going to be doing, we're going to have, we're going to start with a listener response. We are going to have, Hey, John Myers, a little early this time, where I share a fact with John Myers.
I better set my alarm.
Then we're going to talk with Bob, and he's going to give you all a new call to action.
Yay.
And then we're going to have the final act with Bob Sáenz.
Yes, because he loves the game.
Is going to be so happy about it.
Whether he likes it or not, he's going to be happy about it.
So how did you get out of your bubble?
How did I get out of my bubble? Inky, roll a clip. Why is Inky? Why is my cue card guy rolling a clip? I don't know. Roll the clip.
Hold on. I lost it. Here we go.
Welcome back, everybody. I don't know how to start this. Welcome to... We already started Write Better Together. Welcome to... Hey, Stupid Walk.
Hashtag Stupid Walk.
So, I am outside of my bubble talking about...
What was the question?
When I got outside of my bubble. Imagine that.
I said you're doing an influencer walk.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So, Emily, in a previous episode, talked about when she had a surprise party. Her husband successfully threw a surprise party for her. Hey, look, there's the mystery girl's former house. No one lives there now. So I'm taking you on the walk with me, and I thought I'd tell the story while I'm on the walk. So this video will take 45 minutes. No, not really. It'll take as long as the story takes. Well, first of all, why did Emily, since we've started the podcast, Emily's had a birthday, she's had a wedding anniversary. Like, what's next? Like, I haven't had anything. I haven't had a birthday. I haven't had a wedding, let alone a wedding anniversary. I think this is lopsided somehow. All right.
Yeah, so, I agree with that guy.
On my 16th birthday, some people threw a surprise party for me. There's actually a point to this story as well. And like Emily's story, I didn't catch on. The way they pulled it off is, so I not only write ensembles, I always hung out with ensembles. So in any friend group, like a large friend group, you have like the core four, like Betty and Veronica and Archie and Jughead. And so my core four was me, Greg. Greg's dead now, by the way. Rest in peace.
Very sad.
Very sad.
Aww.
And probably Debbie at that point. And I don't remember who the fourth person was. And then there's this next layer of like Cheryl Blossom and Reggie and Moose and Midge and those people. And so two of those people in the next level, or in the next layer of friends, were Elena and Betsy.
I have a great looking ear, don't I?
So for my birthday, all I wanted, my goal, hint, hint, all I wanted was just to have a great time with my girlfriend. And then But after school, she had something, I don't remember, some kind of practice, or she had something she had to do that was real, that happened all the time during that day, or that day of the week. And so Elena and Betsy's like, we'll take you to Leonard's for your birthday. And Leonard's was like a diner, like Pop's Diner on Riverdale. I grew up on Riverdale. And so we did, and I liked it, and it was great. And then
Ashley Hargrove isn't going to recognize
right, so
me
now
because I don't have my
take
glasses on.
and Betsy was like, okay, but first, Betsy was driving. First, we have to stop at my house and get something, which also, again, seemed legit. And Betsy's house, if I remember correctly, was on the beach. All of these details are true. I might be getting the names wrong. It could be the other person that was on the beach or whatever. But anyway, I have to turn around, and there's a sheriff's car there, and I'm in my undisclosed location, so you can't see what county the sheriff's car is from. All right. That was a scary close-up of my face.
This is a horror movie.
And so, now what are we doing? Oh. And so we go to Betsy's house, open the door, surprise, and there's like 16 people there that they had planned because it was my 16th birthday. And they got, so long story short, as if that was possible at this point, they got away with it. And but how did they get away with it?
Now here's the takeaway.
It was built on truth. So Betsy really did intentionally forget something to go back to the house. They knew I would say yeah, because I could have said no, I don't want to go to Leonard's. I'll just wait for the 2 or 3 hours until I have my birthday dinner with my girlfriend. But they knew I loved Leonard's, and so that was built on a truth. So all of those things were built on a truth, and so that's how they got away with it. So now a car's pulling up to eavesdrop on this gripping story. I'll have to tell them, well, you're just gonna have to watch the podcast to hear how this story ends. And so then, so we had a birthday party. I got a bunch of presents. I was totally surprised. They got away with it. There's a kitty. Hey, kitty. And then, so I mentioned that the house, it was a beach house. And so we all went down to the beach and we all swam in our clothes because we were 16 years old, and that's what 16-year-olds do. It was just DoorDash, so he's not going to get to be on the stupid walk with me. So then we go back, and I'm soaking wet. And my parents were in on it, so they knew about it. So I'm sure that I was out late, and so I was allowed to stay out late. Unusual event for me to stay out late when I wasn't at work. So Betsy said, well, I'll just put all your clothes in the dryer. And I had to wear like this big fluffy robe.
She wouldn't let me get in her car because I was soaking wet.
This big fluffy, like hotel white fluffy terry cloth robe for like another hour while my clothes were drying. So the end of the story is uneventful. I know where your minds were going with when I put on a robe, but was uneventful. However, I didn't get to have the dinner that I wanted to have. The only thing that I wanted for my birthday was to go to the dinner, which I didn't get to do. Which leads to picking apart the story. It was based on truth. It did it have a happy ending? I don't know. It kind of was like a good ending, but I didn't reach my goal. And so it was uneventful. There are so many people on this road that I'm trying to keep out of the video. There are so many events that happen. And so maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't.
So, there's the second point, besides powerful stories are built on truth, is that it had a protagonist, me. It had a goal to have dinner with my girlfriend. And then there were obstacles. But what do you do when the obstacle, like a surprise party with all your friends, that was pretty good, but it was an obstacle to the goal. So how do you view, like, I think that story wasn't emotionally satisfying, but it was a story. It was a story, but the obstacles were positive. There's a takeaway to that, and then I'll let you respond to that, and then. But I have a third takeaway that occurred to me while I was watching this.
It makes me think of like a comedy, like something that would happen on Seinfeld where the character has a goal and they don't get the goal because that's not what happens in comedy sometimes. But it's also like you still ended up having a good day.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good day, but it really wasn't a good story. I mean, it was an okay story, but it wasn't that compelling because the obstacles were positive. You got to put your protagonist through agony. And what was my agony? I had to wear a fluffy robe. So the third takeaway is, what did I do wrong there? I did something wrong in that video.
In the video or in the story?
In the video, telling the story, the actual my behavior. There was something wrong with my behavior.
You weren't looking at the camera.
And I have such a beautiful ear. I was trying to show off my ear. No, so the whole point of getting out of your bubble is
You're
to
avoiding people.
Exactly. And so after that, where we stopped it, I actually get in my car and because the Finn, the big tall kid from Stranger Things, he comes walking by and like he's like staring at me because he sees that I'm filming a video and like we were gonna pass each other on the sidewalk, and so I like, oh, well, I'm gonna duck into my car now, and I should have engaged with the DoorDash person. I should have engaged with the sheriff. I should have engaged with Finn. And I didn't do any of those things. Shame on me. I avoided them like when you avoided people at the grocery store sometimes.
Yeah.
That's not right. That's not why I get out of my bubble. So I was that watching that it made me think like, so I intentionally got out of my bubble to go make a video about getting out of my bubble, but then I had the chance to interact with people and I didn't do it.
It makes sense to me because you were on a video, like you were making a video and you probably wanted to protect their privacy.
The kid from Stranger Things, he might have been under 18. So that did cross my mind. Like I would have had to get I couldn't get permission from him to be on it. But the DoorDash guy was old. The sheriff was old. They could have been on it.
But they probably wouldn't have wanted to be on somebody's random video.
That's their problem.
Well, speaking of avoiding people at the grocery store.
Yes. How did you get out of your bubble?
So there is this woman who I went to what I was in college with, but we like didn't really talk in college. And I've run into her 3 times at 3 different grocery stores in the past week or in the past 2 weeks. And so the third time we literally I was pulling out of an aisle and she was pulling into an aisle and we just looked at each other and I just went, oh my gosh, like really again? So we just keep laughing about it. And then finally she was like, do you want to just get coffee? And so we're going to catch up. And I share that because it's just some of the like those moments that we talk about where you're like, all right, we've run into each other 3 times. Now let's just hang out. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten out of my bubble and gone grocery shopping, which you kind of have to do anyway. So I'm not like priding myself on that. But it is amazing how many people I run into at the grocery store. I run into my uncle who I hadn't seen for several months. I run into people from church. I run into people from Tribeca. And then there are also just the people who work there who have been working there for years. And so like you always say hi.
So the coffee woman, how long since you had seen her? Since college?
The only other time was when we ran into her. John and I ran into her at a grocery store. We just always see her at the grocery store.
But this time it was 3 times in 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't ignore that.
I mean, to be fair, she does work at one of the grocery stores, but she's not always there. She's at like all over the place.
So yeah, you can't ignore that. And you can't, like if I had seen the kid from Stranger Things later at Barnes and Noble and then later at Speedway, I would not have ignored that. I would have engaged at that point. And
and so you've said that 3 times now, and the first time you said it, I still didn't register if you actually saw the kid from Stranger Things or if you're just calling him that because he looked like it, but I'm assuming he just looked like the kid from Stranger Things.
I don't know. I didn't engage with him, so he looked like but in my brain it was him, and, but I have no idea, and
That's really funny.
I let him. He just sauntered on his merry way down the sidewalk.
So the moral of the story is say hi to people. I
Which
always
we
say hi
talked
to people.
about before on the stupid walk, about saying hi to people.
Yeah. When I do try to say just hello, good morning, but I don't. I mean, a lot of times people have their headphones in and they just kind of nod. Some people ignore you, but most people are nice on walks. I wanted to let you know that it's storming now, and Winnie came in and is hiding under my desk.
Aw, her Frady hole is under your desk.
She, yeah, she really hates it. All right, we have a listener response.
Oh yes. Are you gonna read it?
I forgot to pull it out. Pull it up.
So while she's pulling it up, I remember that it's Sigourney someone, and
Yes.
so she'll give you that whole name. And I want to apologize to you, Sigourney, because it was in our spam for like 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
I looked at our spam. I can't believe I haven't looked in 3 weeks because I was expecting something, and it hasn't come yet, and it still wasn't in our spam. So I've been looking at it occasionally. So somehow I missed it, and I
Yeah.
apologize. And as soon as I missed it, I sent it to Emily, and I'm like, oh man, here's a loyal listener. She's gonna think we snubbed her.
I know. I feel so bad, but we are going to talk about it now. So this is Sigourney Breekman,
Yes.
and we talked with Bob Sáenz today about log lines, and
Yes.
this is a log line.
Yes, it is.
In the quaint town of Ravenswood, Eva Nora Burrows grapples with teenage challenges and her mother's unexplained vanishing. As her 18th birthday nears, dormant powers awaken. When enigmatic student Blythe Hawthorne arrives, tranquility shatters, revealing a hidden legacy tied to the town's past. Evanora must unravel mysteries before darkness consumes them all. So, I really like I think that this sets a good mood with a lot of the words. Like enigmatic and dormant powers, mysterious, unravels, all of those things. Like I can kind of visualize what the story is. One thing about it that I would suggest is maybe actually being more specific with like what are the mysterious powers. Like you don't have to, or dormant powers, like you don't have to give away everything, but I do think that agents and producers, like they want as much information as possible from the log line. So giving a little bit more, what are the teenage challenges, for instance, or what's enigmatic about Blythe. So I just think actually reveal a little bit more so that we don't just get the vibe of the story, but we can actually kind of visualize what the story is. Does that make sense?
100%, because you just said the exact same things I wrote down on the card. So when I was laughing, I wasn't laughing at the log line. I was laughing that you literally said the same things I was going to say. You need specificity in the challenges. And you don't have to say, like, if there's 10 obstacles, don't say tell us all 10 of them in the log line, but put them in the type of them, right? Is it environmental obstacles? Is it personal? Like just put them in a bucket, put them in an envelope of the kind they are. And then this sounded like a novel, not a screenplay to me. So I
think
don't
so,
know,
but I don't know for sure
if it's a screenplay, and then you can correct me because I've never written a log line for a novel. You don't say the names, and so you would say the enigmatic mystery teenager or the da-da-da-da. And unless your screenplay is about George Washington or Malcolm X or whatever. If it's a famous person of note, then you name the names, but otherwise you leave the names out. Now her town, it's fine because that tells me it's going to be a fantasy, right? And this when she gave the town name, it wasn't like in suburban New York City in 1918 New York City. It wasn't like that. So I know this is going to be like some kind of fantasy story. So you can say a town name, but you just shouldn't say the character names in a screenplay. Is that true in a novel?
So
Log
you
line?
actually don't normally write log lines per se for a novel, but they would have a and I'm going to blank on what it's called. So your query will have like a paragraph,
A
uh,
synopsis?
like a very brief, not a synopsis, but a paragraph that's like a longer log line. And then sometimes they will also ask for a 1 to 2 sentence description, and that's kind of like the replacement for the log line. It's your elevator pitch. Elevator pitch is kind of the best way to say it. And there you can use names, but you don't want to flood it with names because people won't remember them. It's interesting that you say fantasy. I did not read fantasy per se. I did read potentially urban fantasy or paranormal.
Oh, and so, and to me, and I'm not a fantasy writer, so I would not make a distinguish between urban fantasy and fantasy, right? Where you
Oh, I
would,
see.
and then so and but I was also going to say there's the reason I asked that. Do you do this with a novel uh, query? Uh, I wouldn't like if they were names like Bill and Susie and Emily and John. Like I wouldn't think it was like the names tipped off that it was fantasy.
Evanora, I don't think I've heard that name. Or well, Blythe, I think I have. Yeah, it does kind of have a, if not fantasy, then like kind of historical or alternate history.
Right.
But those are the kinds of things that you can also clarify by adding more details. Like if it's paranormal, what that's when you really want to talk about the dormant powers and things like that. Be more specific so that we know the genre.
And the bottom line is the impact of it. We both want to read this story. So she did a good job
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it definitely has a strong like even though there's that specificity that is lacking, what you have included has created a strong like what's the word? Not emotional effect, but like almost like I can just picture what the story could be.
Yep, I agree.
So well
Good,
done.
good job, Sigourney.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes. If you'd like to share,
Oh yeah, if you'd like to share anything with us, we first of all we do call to action responses, which is what that one was. That was actually Bob Sáenz call to action was write a log line.
from
Although that
episode 11,
his
back when we were little kids.
yeah, that one was specifically about writing a log line about the first thing you saw, but this we also just asked about general log lines, so that's I think what she was responding to. And then you can respond to any of our calls to action. You can give us reviews, share us, ask us questions, or give us tips if you want to submit, for instance, Hey John Myers ideas. I would love to hear those, or game ideas. We would love to hear those. So anything you want to share, you can send to writebettertogethernow@gmail.com, or you can respond to our show notes at writebettertogether.com/podcasts, or just reach out to us on social media.
All the places.
All the places. And also
I
just
know.
write us a review on Spotify if you would like to, and let other people know about us.
I noticed my backdrop was missing an important feature.
Oh yeah.
From our talk with Bob. All right.
Yes. So a little early this time.
Oh, good thing I set my alarm.
Hey John Myers.
Yes.
So today's fact is actually more of a correction because it bothered me and I just have to say it. I'm going to tell you what happened and then I'll see if you know what I'm going to correct.
It's because I kept saying Celtic instead of Celtic, isn't it?
No. It's not a correction on this episode or on this show.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was watching QI, which is it stands for Quite Interesting, and it's a British panel show where they share interesting facts. And the host, Sandy, from the Great British Baking Show, she said, she gave a fact.
So you're correcting someone else's show, not our show.
Yes.
Okay.
She shared, and I don't blame her because she is given these, right? By the QI elves who, and I listened to their podcast, There's No Such Thing as a Fish. So I'm kind of calling them out a little bit. But they shared a fact that is technically true, that organic farmers use pesticides, just like conventional farmers use pesticides. And the way that they shared the fact was kind of like organic farms, they also use pesticides. What a shame. Almost like don't
Like
trust
there wasn't
organic
any
food.
difference.
Like there wasn't any difference. So, John Myers, what do you think about that?
So, I recently read, I was watching the internet, and I recently read where people were making this distinction with eggs, that they were arguing the same argument with eggs, that there's no difference in these eggs, and even if they're calling it a free range chicken, even though it's not 20 chickens in a cage, it's 20 chickens in a playpen outside in the grass, but they're all still shoulder to shoulder or
Yep.
whatever, or wing to wing, whatever.
Yes, that
We'll
is
have to ask.
true. So when I go to Aldi, there's free range, cage free, regular, and pasture raised. And pasture raised is the one that I buy because that means they're actually raised on a certain number of acres.
There you go. So this is where we do need Misty here to chase. She can chase the chickens around in her yard. So those chicken people, I just called chickens people. Those people, I did it again. Those chickens are pasture raised because they're running around all over the yard.
Yep, you just have to decide what level of chicken happiness you're willing to afford.
All the happiness. So you're asking me the same question, only for all farming plants, rutabagas. Gosh, I imagine that
I'm just
there
asking
are,
if you know why that upset me.
because I'm guessing that there are chemical pesticides and there are organic pesticides, and they're not distinguishing between the two. That's what my guess is.
Exactly. And
Yay!
I teach rhetoric, right? And I teach college students how to make an argument. And I just couldn't help but think like you're not digging any deeper. You're not giving us the full facts. You're actually what is the logical fallacy where you're leaving out facts? So yes, conventional farms use certain pesticides called glyphosates, and those are known to be like really bad for us as humans and bad for the environment. Organic farmers are using natural pesticides, things like diatomaceous earth that are naturally occurring that only affect certain insects and do not affect people. And sometimes they're using other bugs like ladybugs or predatory insects. So it's not it's not the same thing because it's not going to hurt you or the environment. Now, if there are people who are just like, well, you should just not kill the bugs at all, and some farmers have found ways to do that, and I think that is probably the ideal situation. Even a lot of organic farmers say that they're trying. That's the ideal situation, but sometimes you have to make a living, and sometimes you have to use diatomaceous earth or those kinds of things just to keep the bugs out.
So
So that's my mini rant.
I was going to actually use that as an example when you asked me the question of, there are farmers that use bugs to eat other bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So that bug is being a pest. The eating bug is being a pesticide to the consumed bug.
Yep. There are lots of ways to keep bugs out as well, such as planting plants around your crops that they don't like or attracting them to other areas. So you don't have to use poison.
I kind of learned something.
There you go.
I like that you were my biggest takeaway from this segment was you were so bold to call out QI.
It made me so mad, and I love that show because usually I learned so much from them, but I was like, they just taught all of their viewers that there's no difference between, or they implied that there's no difference between organic produce and non-organic produce, and that's just not true. If you're eating non-organic produce, you need to be washing it.
I mean, I'll be even more bold. It's stronger than implied, because the fact that they brought up the question.
Yeah.
The fact that was the topic of the question.
Yeah.
The whole foundation of the question was there's no difference. Even though they didn't say there's no difference. Why bring it up if they're...
Yeah. So
they should have used that opportunity.
And hey, this is one of my passions is organic farming. So
They should have used that opportunity to do what you just did and to teach the audience the right distinction. Good job.
Wow, thanks.
I'll watch for you when I'm watching the internet. I'll watch for you to be on that show.
I wish I could remember the name of the episode, but I couldn't find it. So, but if you've watched that episode, just
they flew in their time machines. They saw this. They went back and they pulled the episode. All right, what's next? Good job.
Next is our conversation with Bob Sáenz.
I know that guy. Would you like to read his introduction so the audience can know who he is?
I don't have that. Do you have it?
It's the same one as last time, but I do. So,
oh boy.
Bob Sáenz has 21 produced credited films. He's optioned or sold multiple scripts and one TV pilot to production companies. I believe that's 2 now, actually. Producers and studios. He does for-hire rewrites, adaptations, and polishes for producers and production companies. He speaks at writers' conferences and film festivals. And his latest that he wrote is a Hulu original coming out in time for Christmas this year. And we're not going to tell you the name of it. We're going to tease you with that.
He also wrote a YA novel, Jessica's Vampire Diary.
Yes, and he holds that up in the episode.
He does, but the listeners don't know that because we never said it. So I wanted to say it out loud.
And he's currently working on the sequel. They've already asked him to write the sequel. All right, here comes third timer. What?
Oh, yep. Here's our conversation with Bob.
And we're back. Oh, hey, I'm still John Myers. It's still, hey, look, everybody, it's still Emily Brooks. Who's this other person?
Hey, everybody, it's Bob Sáenz.
Oh, my goodness.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Timer. 2 more times and you get the jacket.
Oh, there's a jacket.
It's going to be winter pretty soon, so I'll take the jacket.
5-timer jacket. Just want to jump right in?
I am here at your beck and call for anything that you need.
Well, we just got back when we're recording this from WriterCon in Oklahoma City, and I would like to know your take and the rundown on it. Emily and I discussed ours in a previous episode. So tell us what a wonderful time you had.
I actually did have a wonderful time.
I know.
I got to see some old friends, including you 2 guys. And I got to visit with a great many people. My wife was there, and she got to see some old friends of hers that are authors. And I got to talk to I got to be on some interesting panels, including one with you 2, and which was very interesting, and I thought quite good. And I got to be on, and I got to teach a couple of classes. So it was a fun time was had by all. I think it was well worth it, and I think that the people who went got a lot out of it. And then I did a Monday morning what they call a master class, which I didn't call a master class because even then you can't teach as much as you'd like to in the 3 hours you're allotted. So I let the class kind of push me in the direction that they wanted to go, and told them and taught them the things that they felt they were deficient in or had questions on, and that helped a lot. But it's if I were to do a real master class, it would probably take me 3 days of 3 full days.
We said the same thing, so we did a 3-hour master class as well on Monday, and we really needed 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We really did, but it was great. Just like yours, it was great.
And I had a pretty good group of people, and some help from Renee.
Speaking of Renee, so I was going to tell you, we've talked about it in depth, so we'll do the short version. And you might not want to say a favorite moment, but my favorite moment was there were 2. My favorite moment of being in there in as part of it was the panel that you mentioned, the nonfiction panel with Barry Friedman, you and me and Emily, and it was just such a well-rounded conversation because it was 3 different books. Hey, look, here's one of them right now. And here's another one right now. Do you have Barry's book there to hold up, Emily?
No, but I have your book.
Oh, nice.
I've got Barry's in the other room.
This book means a lot to me because it's autographed inside, and it's autographed
to your wife.
Oh, wait, to my wife. Thanks for keeping Bob in line.
Well, that's
Great.
that's an important position.
If I didn't need to like talk to you about this later, I would throw it over my shoulder.
Also, you're in it.
I know. I saw.
Your wife's not in it. So I had to write her name in the front.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so that panel was like it was really good conversation because there were 3 different. It was all nonfiction, but it was nonfiction coming from 3 different almost subgenres, and then Renee, Emily and I went to Renee's Deep Point of View. She's going to be back on to talk about that in February, and that was one of the most insightful hours of that I've seen in 3 years. So out of the
Renee and I have decided that we're going to teach a class in story logic.
Oh, nice!
At the next one. And we're going to do it together.
That'll be great.
That's awesome.
It is something that means a lot to both of us because most people don't understand it. Most people don't ignore it mostly. And most people don't understand the importance of it. So we're going to talk about, we're going to do a whole seminar on story logic, the 2 of us. And I'm looking forward to that.
Is that going to be a master class?
I have no, it may be because I have a lot to say about it, and so does she, and it's a pretty heavy subject because it means that writers have to think as they write.
Mm-hmm.
She was on last week, which it might not be last week depending on when people are watching this, but she spoke very highly of you. She called you her mentor.
Ooh,
that's a big responsibility right here.
Well, that's a great compliment coming from somebody as accomplished as Renee. So yeah. I will call her and thank her.
Cool. Anything else you want to say about WriterCon?
I just that it's worth going to. I like it because it's not. I go to some other conferences that are quite big, that are just kind of massive, and you can't even see everybody. You can't really talk to everybody that you'd like to talk to, and you miss some people, and your classes are not as intimate as they are when you do a smaller conference like WriterCon. I've had 700 people in a room with me at other bigger conferences where it makes it a lot less personal. So I like WriterCon because it's more personal.
Yeah, and you do run into the same people over and over again, which is nice because you learn their names and
yeah, if you like them. But
yeah.
I'm kidding.
One of the things I noticed about you though is I felt like you were always out in the open. Whenever I was out, you were there. Like you were always there. Whereas
is that a good or bad thing?
I'm saying that's a good thing for me. Like I had to disappear sometimes because it was like I can't talk to anybody right now. But whenever I was out, you were out.
Part of the reason that people ask me to go to these things is for people to have access to me. Mm. For people to there's a great. There are good and interesting things about being well known in the industry that you have chosen to work in. And mine is that I'm well known as a screenwriter and as a teacher of screenwriting and as an author of screenwriting books. And there are people who really want to talk and see me and do that. And I get invited to these things. Okay, thank you, John. I get invited to these things for access, and I feel kind of responsible that I need to be accessible for people most of the time.
I
Not
love
all.
that. I
Not
love
all.
that Emily noticed that, because even before this podcast existed, so like 3 years ago, Bob and I were in some conversation somewhere. It was online. I don't even remember when it was. And I made that exact same observation, that Bob is everywhere. Like, you walk down this hallway, there's Bob. You cut through the restaurant or cut through the bar, there's Bob. Like, he's always, and he's never alone. He's always having a conversation with
Exactly.
someone, or
Always in
holding
deep
court with
conversation.
5 someones.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm having conversations with people. I don't hold court.
Yes, sometimes you
I
do.
don't do it. I don't do that. I know I've known people that did that, and I'm not a fan. I think you never put yourself in a position where you're a special person and they're not. You speak to people on the same level, and you talk to people. I mean, everybody wants to do this, and everybody's at a different point in their journey to do this. And listen, I've sat in groups of 5 people where there was me and 4 New York Times best-selling authors, where I was nowhere near as accomplished in what they do as they are. So, even though I do have a novel now,
I got mine over there. I can't reach it from here.
don't worry about
I
it.
should have had it ready.
And I actually signed my copy to you, and then there's a
I don't have a wife.
and I so you when you're so it's not it's just being available and being there to help people and talk to people and show people that you're you're just like anybody else.
And I'd like to add to that that's very true about Bob, in that so I was on a round table with him. Emily was snubbing us, and she was across the room in her fantasy round table. And but it was a screenwriting, and she's not a screenwriter, but it was a screenwriting round table. And Bob included if there were a dozen people around this small table, he included every person. What's your name? Who are you? Where are you from? Why are you here? And he was very inclusive of everyone. That's very true.
And I felt like that was a good I feel like that was kind of just the attitude of a lot of the people there, that they were there to help others, like they were there to serve. And so I didn't meet many people who were just there for themselves, like they were there to go, how can I help you? And I think that was a really cool
That's what makes
part
that
of
a good. That's what makes that a really good conference. I have been to other conferences where that's not always true.
Yeah.
And so this was the first year I got to be on the advisory council, and so that was the second. It's great that you said that, Emily, because that was the second priority of Bill, William Bernhardt, who runs it. The first one is you have to be nice, or you don't get invited back. And you don't get someone. It's almost by referral. Someone has to say that you're nice for him to even put you on the docket. And then helping others, it was his second part of his mission statement. And so that is clearly by design, and he does a good job at it.
He does do a good job. It's a very good conference. So I encourage people who are watching this to next year in September go to WriterCon in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
And they can already register for it. It's the registration for 2025 is already up. So speaking of encouraging people, pretend that Emily is a brand new screenwriter. She's finished her first screenplay. Actually, she's had classes in screenwriting, right?
I have.
And so what should Emily do with her finished screenplay? What is the proper procedure? What should she do with that thing?
Well, she should let some other people read it first to make sure that it's other screenwriters. I'm a firm believer in having a circle of friends, of writers that you can go to with your new scripts, and they'll give you an honest answer. It takes a while to come up with enough people that you can have that. In fact, I just finished a new script and sent it to John a couple of days ago. And he told me to throw it out, so I'm going to probably. No, he didn't tell me.
I told him to throw it out in my garbage can so then I could resurrect it. No, not really. Not really. It was wonderful.
And so I have kind of curated a group of. I'm in a group of screenwriters where we send each other scripts when we finish them, and we give honest notes and honest reactions, and that's always something that I think every new screenwriter needs to do. You can find people online, you can find people at writer conferences, you can find people at film festivals, you can find people all over the place on social media to exchange scripts with. You're going to exchange scripts with people who are horrible at it, and or who will give you like vicious notes, and then if you tell them one thing that's wrong with theirs, they go nuts. Those are the kind of people you kind of have to weed out. But other than that, you'll at some point find a group that works, and that you can all exchange scripts and all get good feedback, because it's really necessary. Sending out a first draft is usually not a smart thing to do, because you're too close to it. I mean, you take a first draft out, you finish a first draft, and you put it in a drawer for 2 or 3 weeks, and you pick it up and read it again, you're going to find all kinds of things that you're going to say, thank goodness I didn't send that out.
Yeah.
And so then it is, once it becomes time to send it out, what does that look like for Emily?
It looks like there are three ways to market your script that are accepted by producers and directors and agents and managers, that they will accept a script from an unknown writer. Now, there are lots of ways people try, but these are the three ways that are kind of over the years have called themselves into being the ways that they expect. One is to query, which is an email sent to a producer who makes the kind of movies that you've written or shows you've written. If you've written a horror movie, you certainly don't send it to somebody who makes Hallmark movies. That happens. They'll send it to any producer, and those just go in the garbage. But you have to do your homework. Guess what? It's a job. It's work. You have to learn how to market yourself, and it takes work and time to do it. It's your work isn't done when you finish the script. It's just kind of getting started. And then you write a log line, and I'm a big believer in writing the log line after you finish the script, not before, because I think it can change 6 times while you're writing the script. So why write it beforehand? And it doesn't. And a log line only exists to get somebody to read your script. So writing it before you've written the script doesn't make much sense. So you write a log line, and it's anywhere between 25 and 50 words and 1 to 2 sentences. There are people who will tell you that it can only be 25 words, but I'm here to tell you that producers don't count the words. Okay? I asked a producer one time, 25 words. It goes, I don't know where that stupid thing came from. I just want to read a nice, succinct log line that makes me want to read the script. I don't care if it's 50 words. I don't care if it's 2 sentences. It doesn't matter to me. If I'm interested, I'm interested. If I'm not, I'm not. So that's the kind of log line. You write the most efficient log line you can, but sometimes it takes 40 words to explain the movie that you've written. The big thing about query letters is that they can't include 65 paragraphs of other stuff. Like, my mom thinks this is the best thing I've written. This is the next Oscar winner. You would be stupid not to read and buy this script. I've seen it all.
or tell them how to feel about, like, you should find this funny.
This movie is a laugh riot. This movie will scare you like you can't believe. This movie will on and on and on and on. And you never tell anybody how they're going to feel about it, because it sets up preconceived ideas. And if if it isn't a laugh riot to them, even it might be good, and it isn't a laugh riot, they're going to remember that. So you don't tell people how they're supposed to feel. You don't tell them anything. You say, "Hi, I'm sending you this because I think this is in the wheelhouse of what you do. I would appreciate it if you would if you'd like to read it. Here's my log line. Thank you very much." It shouldn't take more than 25 seconds to read your query letter.
And in Bob's book, if you saw me flipping through pages, I was looking for the page number. On page 177, is this section on query letters, and so there's a sample query letter in there. And I know, so normally if you send out 100 queries, you get 3 or 4 responses, 3%, 6%, right? I know a guy, brand new screenwriter, just like the scenario we're painting with Emily, sent out 12 to targeted people in the genre of what his was, and he got 9 read requests using Bob's query letter. So the book is worth the price of admission just for that one chapter.
I get messages online or emails from people who have told me, I sent query letters out for months or years and I never got any responses. Then I used your template and got responses. And people don't believe that if you can't read it all they want is a log line. They don't care whether it took 4th in the Dubuque, screenwriting contest in fish fry. It doesn't matter that it did all those things. If it won the nickel, yeah, okay, but people are going to want to read it anyway. You're not going to need to query it. But nobody wants to know all the places it quarterfinaled. They don't care. Okay, all they want to do is read the log line and see if it's any good.
What goes on the subject line of that query letter?
Never write the word query, because there are some places that if it says query, it goes to spam.
Right.
Oh.
So what do you put in the subject line?
What right is the title of your script, and that alone. So if the title of your script is a million Jack eat cheese, that's what you write, which is a great title for a script, by the way. That
has cheese in it.
What?
Because it has cheese in it.
You bet. So when you send the query letter, and the other thing to do is I have this rule called send and forget. You don't wait around by the phone or by your computer waiting for people to respond, because that's like you could be out doing other stuff. You just send it and forget it. If they like it, they're going to respond. A lot of times if they're not interested, they're not going to respond at all. They're not going to say, no, we don't want to read that. They're just going to delete it and move on to the next one. You have to remember, they get thousands of these letters a month. Yeah. Thousands. And you're not the only one sending them a query. So yours has to stand out, and yours has to stand out by being short and sweet. If they see something this long, they don't even read it. They just delete it, because they don't want to hear about how it's going to win an Oscar. Okay? Which is a ridiculous thing for anybody to put in any letter.
So I have a quick question, because I've only queried novels. And usually when you're querying a novel, you send sample pages, but it sounds like for this, you don't. You just send
that, and then they ask you for the script.
Gotcha.
And then you just send them the script. You don't send them if it's a series, they're going to ask you for the script and the Bible that you've done. Okay. Then you send that. But if it's a script, you just send the script. You don't send them any information. You don't send them maps or definitions of things in your script. If they have to read another document in order to understand your script, they are not going to read your script. They are not going to read your script. It has to stand on its own. And if you're building a world, you need to build it in the story.
There are people who, if they want it, they'll ask for it. There are people who try to read an acceptance into a soft no or a polite no. No, if they wanted it, they would have asked for it.
If they come back and say, this is a very good script, we like it a lot, it just doesn't work for us, just say thank you and move on. Because if they send you a note saying, well, we only accept, we liked it, but we only accept scripts from agents that we work with. So if you can get an agent we work with, we'll look at it again. That's a lie. They know you can't get an agent as a brand new writer that they work with. None of those agents would touch you with a 10-foot pole because you don't have a track record. And so it's just their nice way of saying no, and you move on, because if you spend months trying to get one of those agents, it's just going to be an incredible waste of time for you. And plus, they can read anything they want to. They don't have to. It doesn't have to come through an agent. They get referrals all the time from producers or actors or different people that they know who said, I read this script, it's great, we would like you to read it. And they read it. So there's no referral thing that's real. That's one way, querying. The second way is entering it into some of the contests that matter. The Nickel, which is run by the Academy, the Austin Film Festival, which is the only screenwriter-centric film festival out there, and Screencraft and Script Pipeline. Those four have all had track records of the scripts that have won or finaled in their contests have gotten people agents and managers and gotten made. So that's the four that really matter. And you have to do well in them. You have to final or win it.
And you still have to work it too. Like you can't just sit at home and wait for the phone to ring because you won one of those. Now,
well, you can for one of them. For the Nickel, if you win the Nickel,
for the Nickel, you could.
Your phone will ring.
But everything else you got to work. Your friend Gene Bowerman, we were actually just talking about this yesterday online, that they'll help you. Pipeline will help you, and but you still, she agreed, you still have to do your part. Like you were a finalist, let's say, or you won. We're sending it to these people, but then it's on you.
Gene is a dear friend of mine, and she's got like so much knowledge. You guys should have her on there. You really should.
You were on hers.
I've been on hers a couple of times, and when she was the editor of Script Magazine, I was the cover boy when.
She was one of I told her this yesterday. She was, when I was a baby screenwriter, she was one of the first people that actually helped me and like gave, even before I knew who you were, Bob. She like helped and just gave me like general advice when I don't know how to do this thing or whatever. She was one of the first people that chimed in to help me.
One of the most knowledgeable people out there.
Yeah.
But yes, you have to do the work. And then the last way is what you guys did at WriterCon, which is networking. You can do it at film festivals. You can do it at writers' conferences. You can do it on set if you want to go be an extra in something and learn how everything works. Listen, I started out as an extra in movies, and you can see my elbow or knee in some great films. But you know that I learned so much by being on those sets, and I met so many people. And as I worked my way up to being a small time actor in some pretty amazing productions. I got to meet and talk to and make friendships with some people who have helped me to this day. I never sent a query letter in my life, um, because I networked my way to where I am now. I have 21 produced films, and if without the networking part of that for me, it would have never happened. So you have to, and networking isn't going out and finding people who you think can help you, because the minute you go out and somebody realizes you're trying to use them, they're looking over their shoulder for the first, escape hatch. They don't want to be around you. Networking is about developing and keeping relationships, real relationships with people based on who they are and not what they can do for you.
When I just had to look it up because I was trying to look up the year just now, and but so when Barry Jenkins wrote Moonlight, guess who crewed Moonlight? All of the people in his network that he made while he was in grad school at Florida State, and so the people that you just know over the course of 4, 5, 10 years become your people, and everything that Bob said is true. Plus, that person never showed up on time for when I was going to meet him at the coffee shop, right? So you don't call that person because they don't show up, but you call the person who's reliable. They gave you the ride to the airport, and you knew that they would show up, and you know who's a flake and who's not a flake. Just over the years, you
they
learn that.
also know, who your wife is, and they also know about or husband is, or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. They know about your kids if you have them, or they know about where the other than just what your interests are, other than the life of screenwriting. I have friends who are producers now that I know things about them, about their lives, what they're interested in, where their passions outside of screenwriting lie, or making movies lie, and I'm genuinely interested in them, and they're genuinely interested in me.
Right, as a person.
Yeah, as a
not,
person.
not as your as your job,
No.
but as
The
a person.
second, which is why you never take a script to any of these places and try and hand it. I was at one of the major film festivals speaking, and there was a movie star that was one of the people who came in to be there one night to get an award and to have his new movie shown. And he was at a meet and greet type of thing, and a guy walked up to him and tried to hand him a script, and they threw him out. They said, "You are not welcome here again." He said, "But I paid," and they said, "We don't care. You have abrogated your ability to be here." And
I saw that in Edinburgh at a Q&A. A guy in the audience, like 100 people in the room, a guy in the audience stood up with his script, and everyone got awkward. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy's going to do it. And they didn't escort him out, but but I forget who the star was, but the star was like, yeah, I can't take that. I'm not going to take that. And he was kind of...
there's a story that Amy Poehler tells in her book, which is a good book, about being on a subway half asleep in New York, headed to somewhere, and she wakes up because somebody dropped a script in her lap and said, "Oh, I saw that it was you, and I wanted to give you my script so you can read it." And she got up and she threw the script across the train and said, "How dare you? What gives you the right?" And just read this guy the riot act. And he just hit her on a bad day. But you just don't do stuff like that. There's an entire chapter in my book called "How Not to Market Your Script." I suggest that anybody who is interested in marketing their script read that chapter, because it's everything that's been tried and failed They don't. The pizza box thing doesn't work. Okay, it's not. CAA gets what, about 8 or 10 pizzas, scripts in pizza boxes a week from people who are thinking I'm going to think of something cool and they're going to read my script, and they just, it doesn't work.
There's even stories of where people who know that they're like, but I taped $100 bill to the top of my pizza box. Well, it's the same stupid idea with $100. All you did was
That
throw
would
away
have been fine.
$100.
I would have taken the $100 and thrown the script away.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard
That's
of
what they
people
do.
doing like perfuming it,
Oh no.
or or putting music with it, like a CD.
Well, that's another thing you don't do. You don't ask somebody to queue up a CD and then hit the different things on the different pages so they can hear the music that they're not going to, that costs $6 million to license, that they're not going to ever buy. It is, you send them the script. If the script stands on its own, great. But it has to stand on its own. It has to be a great story. Producers buy one thing only, and it's story. They don't care about anything else. They want a great story, well told. They even will buy a great story not well told and then fire the writer that they bought the script from and hire me to tell it better. It happens all the time.
Wow.
Plus, people are busy. They're not going to line up a CD to something. Or so Bob sent me his script. I didn't have time to read it for 10 days till I finally got around to reading it. And so people are just busy. And so if you're a producer, it might be 6 months till they get around to reading it.
And well, they get a stack. They have a weekend read, and they have a stack. Well, they don't read them. They have readers that read the first round. They have, assistants or interns or somebody who works for them, who is assigned to read the scripts that have been requested. And sometimes they read 3 pages and say nope. Sometimes if it catches them, they read the whole thing. And sometimes they want to be a hero. That's the way they move up at the company. If they find a hit movie, they're going to move up at the company. So they want to find a great script. I've heard people say, well, they just want to throw everything out and they're just mean. That's not the truth. The truth is they want something that makes them look good. They want somebody. So here's a story. I had a script, and the script that this book is based on, that one time I had an assistant to a very major producer who said she read my script. She walked it into the producer's, this is her words. She walked it into the producer's office, and this is when you had paper scripts, dropped it on her desk and said, this is our next movie. And that's what you want. And they'll do that if it's something that they really, really like. And it was their next movie until the studio that they had it set up with got sold to another studio and they dropped everything. But that's another horror story for another day.
Renee had a story like that too.
Yeah.
So tell us a really big no-no, like a really big expensive waste of time and money.
The only thing that I think is expensive waste of time and money is pitch fests. And the reason is because I'll tell you a story about pitch fests. There was once a giant one in LA when I was first writing. And I thought about going, and I have a good friend who was an intern at a major production company. Now he's an executive at one of the biggest production companies in the world. But then he was an intern at a very big well-known production company. And I said, I'm thinking about going to the Pitch Fest. He goes, well, if you do, let me know. I'm going. And I said, you are? He goes, yeah, they're sending me to get pitched movies. And I said, you just got hired as an intern. They're gonna pitch. He goes, well, yeah, but I mean, between you and me, they told me I can listen to the pitches because they're getting paid for them and I'm getting a cut of it. but I've been told I can't request a script. Don't request a script, and don't tell anybody that you're interested in anything. And I've heard that I know another guy who worked for another studio who told me that they once sent one of the janitors.
Wow.
And they've now proliferated because people in California need more money, and they have to pay their car payments and stuff. Michael Jamin wrote King of the Hill and Just Shoot Me and a million other things. He just told a story the other day about like the pitch fest that he had heard about was $30 for 3 minutes, and then the janitor or the whatever, the person from the production company, the intern, could split that. So they would literally do 20 in an hour, right? And so they 15 times 20, so whatever that math is, what they would get paid an hour.
That's $300.
Yeah, $300 an hour. And he was like, who? But you only get half of that because you split half of it with the house. He's like, what decision maker is going to go sit anywhere for $150 an hour? He goes, I'm a guy that pitches stuff, and even I'm not going to go there for $150 an hour. Certainly, Michael Mann and anyone in the top half of the production company isn't going to go sit there and listen to that.
Well, they're going to go anyway. They don't. It has nothing to do with the money. They just don't want to be out in the public. They don't want their faces known. They don't want to be. They understand that if they show up at one of these pitch fests, they may sit at the desk, but walking to the desk, they're going to get surrounded by people, and they're going to get. It's just there's no rules when it comes to some of these people who are desperation is a really weird and horrible thing. And unfortunately, because it takes so long to break into this business, that desperation is one of the things that people end up feeling. And I get it. I mean, I felt that way when I first started, and I made some mistakes, and luckily people pointed them out to me, so I wasn't, so I didn't keep making the same mistakes. But you get people who cross boundaries, like the guy who presented the script to the star at the film festival. You get people who really have no boundaries, and you have to. These people who run these production companies and studios, and the people who make decisions to whether to buy Screenlight or buy scripts or not, they don't want to face that kind of thing. They don't want to be there. That's why they send an intern. That's why they send some guy fresh out of film school and tell him, hey, we'll pay $150 an hour or $150 for the day. I don't know, whatever. And you get to go take pitches from people and smile and be nice and say, wow, that's really nice, but that's, we'll let you know, and take their card and all that stuff. And then go home and have a nice dinner with your wife and forget you were even there. And unfortunately, I think that's what a lot of these pitch fests are. I have yet to know somebody who got anything sold or optioned through a pitch fest. Now, I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, because obviously you're going to hear from somebody who's going to go, I optioned something from a pitch fest.
But they're the exception.
People all the time that say nobody ever optioned anything or sold anything from the Blacklist website, because I was on there for 2 years with my thing. And I'll have to tell you, when the Blacklist website first started, I sent a script to them just to see what it was like, and I optioned it. A big production company read it on there and said, we would like to option this script. And they optioned it for 3 years and never made it, and I got it back.
And so talk about a little bit about the psychology behind the people that go to a pitch fest. Why do they think it's gonna work? Like who no one tells anybody that it's gonna work other than the ad that they saw, the flyer that they saw for them to go there. Why do people think it's gonna work?
Because everybody's looking for a shortcut.
Oh.
Shortcuts don't exist in this business. They just don't. Unless unless you're friends with a producer, or your father's a producer, or I mean, nepotism is a real thing, and you hey, listen, it's what it is. But you have to understand that people are looking for shortcuts. People are like I said, they're frustrated. They haven't gotten any. They think they've written the greatest script that's ever been written. They know that it would be a gigantic hit if it would just get made, and nobody wants to read it. And they've queried, and they've networked, and they've done all these things, and now here's a chance to sit down with somebody who works for one of these mythical, wonderful production companies and pitch to them face to face. And how could they refuse me? And this is going to be my shortcut. That's why they do it. That's exactly why they do it. It's why people pay for the blacklist thinking it's going to be a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. It's got about the same, you have about the same percentage of chance of getting somebody to read and option your script from the blacklist as you do querying. If you want to pay the money for the blacklist, absolutely, there are people who have had films made off of that. But the percentage is very low. I mean, it's 1%, 2%. But
so can I add to that
Sure.
question that I feel like we're often told, like, you just have to be bold and put yourself out there and don't let anybody say no. And like, I feel like that's kind of the American, like, you just like advocate for yourself. And what's the balance there of
there's no balance. In the case of the film and television industry, there is no balance. They've set up ways to get to them, and they will not accept anything that doesn't come those ways. Okay, they will not accept it. If you could have written The Godfather and given it to them in a pizza box, and it would go in the garbage.
Yeah.
Okay, because once they accept, people hear that they've accepted something that way, they would be inundated forever with people thinking that they could do the same thing. So they can't make exceptions. I have friends of mine who work for big production companies who have said there are no exceptions. If you can get it through if you get an agent or a manager, yes, you can get your scripts to them through them. But that doesn't mean they'll always read them. But you can get them there. If you query, you can get scripts to them. But here's the rub. Okay, it's got to be a good script,
Right.
and it's got to be a good story, and it's got to be something they're looking for. It's got to be something where one person, and that's all it takes, one person says, "Holy smokes, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for." Okay.
Because if they do go through those channels, really, so that's the second part of the psychology behind it. Any business runs like that. Like, I cannot walk into McDonald's right now and go, I had the best idea for this sandwich, and and talk to some lower level manager at the local McDonald's and say, you need to tell your boss to tell their boss to tell their boss to have my pimento bacon sandwich. And they're not going to, that's not how it works.
The John Mayer sandwich.
Right. So why do people why do writers think it wouldn't work in any other business?
Novelists don't think this way.
I know.
Just screenwriters think this way. Just
Why?
people who want to make movies because they don't think it's a business.
Oh.
Because it's magical, unicorn, rainbow, wonderful. That these movies that they watch and they're magic, they just get made out of fairy dust. Okay? And once they get involved and realize the hard work that goes into making anything and the miracle it is to get anything made, they realize that their thinking was a little bit naive. It's a business, and that's all it is. People who make movies are making movies because they love them and they want to do it, but they also want to make a living. They also want to pay their mortgage and and their rapidly increasing energy bills, and they want to be able to go to Hawaii once in a while. Okay. And the only way they can do that is by finding something that's good and that works. 98% of scripts, and this isn't meant to hurt anybody's feelings, 98% of scripts that people send out are unreadable. They're nowhere near good enough to even read.
Wow.
And you can tell by the first 3 pages. And those are the people who say, I'm going to write a movie, and don't do any of the work to figure out what goes into a good script, how it works, how you write it, what you write and what you don't write. What makes a film what makes a film cinematic? What makes a story cinematic? What and going back to what I'm going to do with Renee, talking about story logic. That you put things in your script that don't make any sense for the story that you're trying to tell. But it happens all the time. There are the people who succeed are the people who take this seriously as a craft. It's not just sitting down and writing what you think might be a movie, but crafting a great story in screenwriting language using the screenwriting format.
That sounds like a lead up to a call to action.
It does.
I don't know what call to action would that be.
That it's coming out of you, sir. give our viewers, listeners,
want to give me a hint of what
call to action. It just seemed like the proper time to insert it. So don't repeat the one you gave us last time. So come up with a call to action.
What did I give you last time?
Walk out the door, and first thing you see, make a log line or inspired by it.
Yeah. So walk out the door.
No, do a new one.
Oh, let's see. I think that if you want, what would be a good idea is to come up with first page of a script that you think is crafted well enough to want them to turn to page 2.
Ooh, a bulletproof page 1.
That's good.
I like that one.
Yeah.
We're both nodding in agreement. People
Yes.
in your car listening.
Yes, I realize that.
And how do they get that to us, Emily?
Oh, right. I was like, it's my turn. So listeners, you can send that to us at writebettertogether.com/podcast. That's where all of our episodes and show notes are. So you can go to this episode, open the show notes and respond there, or you can respond on social media wherever we share this episode. Or you can email it to us at writebettertogethernow@gmail.com.
Yes.
And I realize that I have said a lot of things that are kind of semi-harsh today. And I don't want to come off that way. Listen, I started off not knowing a thing about screenwriting. And I wrote my first script without knowing a thing about screenwriting. And it got optioned by a studio. Okay? Wow. It's unusual, and it doesn't usually happen. And it's an incredible exception. And the fact that it didn't get made and I went through a lot of heartbreak because of it probably helped me, because a mere 12 years later, I had my first produced film. But my learning curve was very high. But listen, if somebody like me can do this, you can do this. Anybody out there who wants to be a screenwriter, you can do this. You just have to put in the hard work. Not long ago, my youngest daughter said, we were talking, and she said, when she was asking about what I had coming, what was my next movie that was going to come out, and we were talking about it, and she said, when you first started doing the screenwriting thing, I thought you were nuts. I couldn't understand why you were just spinning your wheels trying to do this. And she goes, but I've never seen anybody work harder or not give up or be more diligent or more disciplined than I've ever seen anybody that you did this. And I'm really proud of you. And it meant the world to me because what she thinks, what my kids think is important to me. And so it meant a lot to me, but it also made me think about, like you put your nose to the grindstone and you don't give up. That goes back to my two unchanging words of advice for writers: don't be boring and don't give up.
And you're the personification of that. Of their don't give up and don't be boring, but also just that you have to do the work. It took 12 years, right? You didn't do any shortcuts during those 12 years.
Nope.
And you're the personification of your advice.
I took the yellow brick road, and it was long, and I fell off of it a bunch of times, and there was lots of walls there, and there were lots of no's. Rejection was endless, and yet I just said I got to keep going because this is what I want to do.
I love that you got that feedback from your daughter too. That did she think the same thing of when you became an actor?
Yeah.
So it was.
I never was a great actor. I mean, I never was. I mean, I'm comfortable in front of a camera, and if you see me in something, you're going to go, okay, he's okay, he's pretty good, he's real. But I'm no Meryl Streep. Okay, I can't. I have a. That's how big my acting ability is. If you get me in the middle of that, I'm knock it out of the park. But I'm not any kind of great actor, and I realize that, which is why I tried writing.
Well,
found out I was a much better writer than I ever was an actor.
Well, funny that you mentioned that. However, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, well, thank you for closing on that positive note. I think all of these they're hard things, but they're hard truths that people need to hear. But it's also encouraging to hear stories like yours of success and as a result of hard work.
Yeah, it's a reality check, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
And it's there if you want to put in the time and effort to do it.
So Bob mentioned he started to say about his acting career, and he mentioned seeing his elbow and his knee in different films. So it's now time to play the final act.
Oh no.
And the prize he will be playing for actually features one of Bob's former co-stars. This is the dinosaur that stepped on Bob in Jurassic Park. And so it's on a plate. So you'll be playing for this
That is
party
not
plate.
The dinosaur that stepped on me in Jurassic Park.
No, this is the only plate I could find with a dinosaur on it.
And a T-Rex stepped on me in Jurassic Park 2.
Oh, well, what is this?
Okay,
I don't know my dinosaurs.
That's a Velociraptor.
Oh, okay. Well, it still has the Jurassic Park logo on it, so
okay.
There you go. So that's what you're playing for. And then I like that it ended on a personal story because Bob and I talk on the phone sometimes, and I pointed out yesterday that we haven't dug into his personal life like we have on other guests, and so so he brought.
What are you doing?
No.
I told him.
I threw that story in.
Okay. He asked me if it was okay, and I said it was. I will tell you when it goes too far.
No, and it won't, because I didn't throw one in, but he ever wanting to please the hosts of the podcast, he threw in the story about his sister or about his daughter, and so it was perfect. He was just trying to please us, and it was a great story. Now there's a personal connection, not about his family, but about me, and so you will be playing. This is the way to win this game is which one of you knows me better.
Oh no!
And so
I'm not gonna win that one.
You will be playing. You will be playing a game called Book, Ball, Broccoli, or Mr. B, and Mystery B. And so they're in this bucket. Also starts with a B. See this bucket right here? There are 4 items.
That's a
all
trap.
starting with the letter B. A piece of broccoli, a book, a ball, and a mystery bee. I will reach into the bucket. I will touch an item, and I promise I will. Whichever one I touch first is
You
the
put
one I'm pulling
broccoli
out.
in that garbage can?
It's not a garbage can. It's the it's the David Lynch swirl the number barrel. and so whichever one I touch first of those 4 items will be the one that I pull out. So you two, best 2 out of 3, you can also guess the same thing. You have to look at the expression on my face as I touch the item in the mystery bucket and then guess which one I'm going to pull out. And I promise it'll be the first one I touch, and then I won't change it just to make someone win. So whichever one I touch first is what I'm pulling out. Ready?
Can you say the items again?
A piece of broccoli, a book, a ball, and a mystery item that also starts with a B.
Okay.
There are 4 B's in a bucket. All right, here we go. You're playing for this plate of the dinosaur that I don't know what its name was. All right. Here we go. Swirl the bucket. All right, my hand is now on an item. You can only look at my face, my expression, and see if you can guess what I'm touching.
Yeah, that gives us a lot of help.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Emily.
Do we both guess?
Yeah, you both guess, and then someone's gonna have to keep score if
I'll
you
say
miss
the
it or
book.
get it right. Okay.
You can also say the book, I guess.
I could say the book. Let's subvert him. I'll say the book too.
Oh, you both have 1 point. It's the book. And before I show what book it is, would anyone like to guess what book it is? Here's a hint. It had to fit in this barrel. So it's not your book or our book, Bob, because it didn't fit in this barrel.
Is it one that has appeared on the podcast before?
It is. Oh, I'm not allowed to answer questions, but yes, it is.
Oh.
What do you mean you're not allowed? You made this game up.
You're only allowed to be able to tell by the expression of my face. So ask that question again.
Okay.
And then I'll make a face.
Has it appeared on the podcast before?
There you go.
Is it Winnie the Pooh?
No. You want to guess, Bob?
No.
All right. So neither of you get the extra point. It is the 1 Week Baby.
Oh, I wasn't going to pick that.
It was on sale at Kmart once upon a time for $2.62. It's the mystery book because I have no idea how it got in this house. It just appeared. I also could have subverted the game because I could have, but it wouldn't fit in the barrel. I could have put Frank Ball, because it would have been a ball and a book in the barrel.
Oh, my goodness.
Storytelling at its best, which is a great book, and we'll put it in the show notes. All right. Ready for number 2.
By the way, that is a really good book.
It is super. It's super
I wanted
good.
to buy it at the conference, and then I ended up just taking pictures of a bunch of books because I couldn't fit them all in my suitcase.
Did you get it yet?
No, I haven't gotten it yet.
I'll call Frank and I'll get you a copy.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Item number 2, swirl the barrel.
What? We have to keep playing this?
You have to get 3. All right.
No, you just made that up. You
weren't listening to the rules. I can't talk during this. My hand is now touching one of the items. Guess what it is?
Emily?
I can't. Hold on. You froze, so I need to see what your face was. A ball. The ball.
Broccoli.
Bob gets the point. It's a piece of broccoli. Broccoli is also a fractal. Maybe we'll do a master class about fractals sometime, and or a webinar or something. But it was broccoli.
What did we learn about you? Did we learn that you like broccoli?
We learned that there's a story that I don't have time to tell. That my discovery that broccoli is a fractal. That's a very important part of my writing life.
Oh.
Oh, good. That's
a teaser for a future episode. All right. Last but not least.
No, I'm done.
Swirl the bucket. Swirl the bucket. My hand is now on an item. Look at my face.
Oh, it's the mystery item.
Yeah, it's the mystery item.
Oh my gosh, you both got it right. Would you like to guess what the mystery item is?
Sure. A jet airliner.
Well, that doesn't start with a B, so that would.
I think it's
a Boeing would start with a B. You think it's what?
A Beanie Baby.
A Beanie Baby? No, it's Return from the Dead. It's
No.
Baggy who has returned from the dead
Oh,
just for this game.
Why
There
did
you go.
ask that?
The final, just for Bob, the final score is.
Bob is so miserable.
I think he won though, didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah.
You both
yes,
said
and I would love to present the Jurassic Park plate to my friend Emily as a gift.
Okay.
As a gift of friendship.
I believe the
Aw.
score was 2. Bob got broccoli and got the book. Emily got the book, and that
Yeah.
was it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
No. I got the mystery item too.
So did I.
Oh, so it was a tie.
No.
No, because he also got the mystery item.
Oh, so Bob did win 3-2.
Yes.
All right.
I'm presenting the Jurassic Park, the lovely Jurassic Park disc to Emily.
Oh.
And I won because Baggy returned. The dead Baggy returned for a guest appearance just for
my
Bob's special
goodness.
occasion. All right. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Oh, my
love
pleasure.
having
It
you.
was this whole last part made it just all worthwhile.
I thought so. Bob, so wait, and Emily, you predicted it properly because Bob knew me better than you do,
That's true.
which I'm surprised
How
because
did that know? Wait a second.
you got
Hold on.
it was 3-2.
Knowing
You're
you,
going to ask us questions about your life.
how can you know somebody when they reach in and touch the first? No,
By the
because
express comment? Okay.
you gave that same expression
It's
when
true.
she said, "Is that a book that I know?" So no, you have 2 expressions. So don't feed me that.
Happy and sad. No, so Emily was in my audience. I was in Emily's audience during our presentations at WriterCon to bring this full circle. And we can just look at each other and we know what the other person's thinking. We do this on the
We
show.
do it too, and we're not even actually making eye contact, but we do.
And we can just smile and we know what the other person's thinking. So I thought for sure she would win, but Bob, you won.
Well, I'm glad that I won broccoli.
Okay, so I'll send the plates to Emily and I'll send the broccoli to you. That's it.
Send the broccoli to Emily too, because she's she likes that stuff.
She likes greenery. All right. Good job, everybody. Let's
Thank
get out of here.
you.
What do we say, Emily?
Oh, that we
Couldn't have done it without you.
you.
Bob Sáenz.
Thank you very much.